In this final episode of my Cannon Diorama series, I bring all the details together. From aged barrels, buckets and rusty hooks and plungers to hand-tied rope coils. Every piece is crafted and fixed in place with care. I'll show you how I graded and weathered the barrels, the hooks, belaying pins and how I made realistic rope coils. Finally, each accessory finds its place on deck. Check out the other episodes, feel free to leave a comment and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This is what I'll use as buckets. I'm going to thread another rope through the holes and fill it with cannonballs for the diorama. These are one-piece wooden barrels. I'll use an engraving bit to carve grooves so they look like individual planks. I'll mostly do this in the spaces between the iron bands, which I'll also paint later and give a weathered, rusty effect. I'm also engraving the top of the barrels and the lids like this. I'm going to do by hand so it looks more realistic when the barrels are done. To test the difference, I also made one barrel with straight chisel lines first, and this might help guide the engraving. The lines are slightly neater, but in the end results is barely noticeable. Now I'm using a permanent marker to color the iron bands black as a base coating. Well, the same goes for the barrels, and it doesn't need to be perfect since I'll be painting over them anyway. So now I'm painting all the bands with the rust colored enamel paint, and this layer also doesn't need to be precise because I can fix it later, as you will see. So now I will be using a knife to scrape off any paint that went too far, and this reveals the black base underneath, which adds to the rusted, worn look I will be going for. As you can see now, I've started scraping off the excess paint. I'm simply using a knife for this. Once all the paint has been removed from the barrel itself, I start with the light sanding. I gently remove some of the rust paint, but not too much, so the black undercoat stays visible. This gives the metal bands a worn, rusty look with black tones underneath. Here I've got a wooden oar, an iron hook, a plunger, and the rack they go into. These are all part of the diorama accessories I'm building. And here we have the barrel and the buckets. The barrels, buckets, and sticks are now treated with a mix of water, white glue, and charcoal powder to stimulate an aged and weathered finish. Finally, I have some small buckets placed at the front, used to store water for cleaning or for extinguishing cannon fuses. I'm using a metal rod, which will hold a cotton wool tip for cleaning the cannon, and the hook that I'll simply paint black. And then here are a few wooden spatulas to complete the cannon setup. I also have a 3 by 2 mm plank where I'll drill 5 holes. 3 are for holding these rods, and the other 2 will secure the board onto the deck. So these are the wooden bases where I'll place the belaying pins for the merchant ship, the French ship, and the English ship. So now I've cut everything to size and drilled 4 holes for the belaying pins. I've cut off a triangle and used the file to round the corner for a smoother look. So this one is finished. I'm working on this one, and this one still needs to be done. So the belaying pin racks are now ready. I had to replace the lightwood version with walnut because it kept cracking when inserting the pins. So the red and brown ships now have walnut versions, while the blue ship still has the lighter wood. I've prepared the holders. Now I'll widen the holes and cut the pieces to the correct length, and after that I'll paint them black again. And just like all the other support structures, these also will be painted black.